11호치 응급 환자 발생했습니다.
알려주세요.
아직까지 남의 안은 열려있다니까. 우리 그냥 이것들 갈고 부산으로 갑시다. 바로.
시티 몇 호칸?
지금 무슨 일이 벌어지고 있는지 몰라? 우리 열차는 더 이상 부산으로 운행할 수가 없게 됐습니다.
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to It's Only Talk and Roll at the Movies on that 70s Rock fan. We are so happy to have you all here today, here on YouTube and over on Rumble. I notice we're climbing up the Entertainment tab on Rumble today, so that's good. This may be a slightly smaller crowd today than we're used to, both on the panel and out there on the YouTubes, because it's a Korean movie, and I love Korean movies, and that's why I've been waiting for ages to do one. And we had such good fun on last week's Canon Film Club. I thought I'd stick with the movies because we've done a lot of music stuff recently. So here we are. But I'm not on my own, thankfully.
Well, don't include me. I just stopped in to say hi, and I love this movie. I'm in the middle of date night with Anima right now.
All right. So. Well, anyway, so not on my own. So I'd like to welcome Gary for briefly to the show. Gary, what do you have to say about this?
Dick. You're such a dick.
Glad you could drop in for a while. I do believe you do love this movie and other movies. Yes,
I do. It took me a while to get around to it, and when I finally watched it, I was like, "Why did I wait so long?" And I love the little animated film they did with it too. And I still haven't seen I think it's a prequel movie or something.
There's a sequel.
It's a sequel.
Yeah,
I still haven't seen it.
I've held off on that one because I didn't know whether it came before or after.
It's after, yeah. I think it features either the girl or the wife in it, but the rest, obviously, everyone else. Spoiler alerts! There will be a ton of spoilers today.
Well, I want you guys to have a good show, man. I'm going to bail out because Anima's waiting for me.
All right, Gary.
We're in the middle of watching stuff, but I told him I wanted to stop by and say hi. And
she's in the chat. She's going to be watching the show, so you're on your own, buddy. You should just stay.
She'll join me. She'll be back.
Anima, you belong with me.
Oh man!
Well,
fuck you. All right, guys. Have a good show, man.
Thanks for coming in, buddy.
Give her a hug for me.
I'll see you guys.
See you, Gary.
Yeah. Yeah. Beat it. Get out. There you go. Can't get rid of him. It's like a bad smell. Can't get rid of him. But also joining me today on our abbreviated panel of those who don't mind watching Korean movies, I have my great friend, Mr. Pope Metallicus I. How are you, buddy?
Doing good, man. And I'm glad you pushed this up to now because this movie has been on my to-watch list in various places for years now. Ever since it first came out, and I keep hearing about it, and I keep like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to put that on my list to watch, and then other stuff comes out, or I get involved in other things, and it keeps getting pushed down the list. And now that I finally watched it, I absolutely adore the movie. It's basically the Korean World War Z.
Yeah, and I'm not sure which came first, but it's Fast Zombies or
This
Best
movie came out in
Zombies.
2016, right?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think World War Z came out the year before.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
It's very close.
But yeah, it's World War Z, and this feature that the Fast Zombies, and I believe Fast Zombies are Best Zombies. I mean, I've always struggled with the shambling, easily outrun ones, much as I love Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. Like, come on, guys. All you have to do is outrun the guy next to you.
Well, the problem is when you
Or put a bullet in their knee.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Put a bullet in your friend's
Well,
knee.
the problem
leave him
is
for
about
dead.
World War Z and this, you see that like they stack on top of each other and will like almost perform as a wave
Yeah.
rather than a single thing.
Oh, the wave is
And
great. Yeah.
it's really horrifying what they can do in large groups.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into that. But before that, I'd just like to, I'll hide that for the moment, but I'll come back to it. Welcome to the show, John. How are you, buddy?
Doing great. Yeah, I started to say I count as 2, but technically I count as 1.5 now.
You're 1.5. Okay. Well, as long as you don't count it as a half, then
No,
that's okay.
no.
Well, good to see you both. Thanks for joining me in this. The rest of the panel are not big fans of this particular movie, but we love them all anyway, and I understand if it's not your thing, that's nobody should have to be here if it's not their thing. So we'll miss the rest of our regular panelists, many of whom are in the chat though. So I'd like to start with shouting out our great friend Joe from Joe's Atmosphere. Hey buddy, you didn't have to do that, but thank you for the $5 super chat. That's how easy it is to throw these up on the screen. $5 super chat from Joe. Hail to that 70s rock fan and panel, Fast Zombies rock, and they roll to hail. Right on, brother.
And you should all go check out Joe's Atmosfere. He may be an MP, but he's a good dude.
That's right. We won't hold it against him. I mean, I'm surprised anyone would hold anything against him, but you know. No, Joe.
Well, he's still an MP, so you have to make that disclaimer.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Joe. Good to see you, buddy, and we'll get you back on for something soon. I'm planning a foreigner show. It's going to happen. We also have Obduello. Great to see you here, Obduello. $2 super chat. Great film. Avoid the sequel. Completely different, and indeed, I got the feeling it was. It's a lot more military action looking. Yeah, it's on my list, and I will get around it, but I can't say I've been rushing to it.
So it's more like Alien and Aliens, where they're two very different types of movies. This is what I'm getting out of that.
I'm going to have to watch it to tell, but just the cover art and the synopsis seems to appear more. In fact, Aliens may be a good comparison in that it looks like it's sort of a bunch of military guys trying to fight their way out of Busan Peninsula or whatever. But anyway, I will watch it.
Busan, the same place. I'm not. Forgive me, anyone who's from Korea or knows a lot about this. I know next to nothing about the Korean War or about Korean geography other than it applies to the Korean War. So Busan and Busan are two different places.
They must be, because I only know Busan. Busan
was the minimum perimeter that the UN forces got pushed to in 1950.
That may be close to Busan, or unless Busan's a renaming of Busan, I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that it is in the very south, and the UN forces were pushed right down back.
Well, if Busan is in the very south, it might be the same place.
Could be.
It's just two different pronunciations of it. But
I'd also like to say hi to our great buddy Darius Münchausen, who hopefully will pop in later after work. $149 box donation. Thank you, everybody, from the heart of my bottom. We're gonna have to play you something.
You have our gratitude.
So thank you for those. But thank you for being here in the chat, everybody. We will do our best to highlight those as we go. We do want your comments about zombies in general and other such things to do with that, the subject in general, and this movie and its place in that canon of zombie films.
And what Darius is saying is apparently the Korean language doesn't distinguish between the B and P sounds.
Yeah, it could be the same.
So
place,
it could be it could be the Busan perimeter all again.
Yeah. And you got to be careful how you say Busan. So
Well, I'm saying it how it was pronounced in American.
Well, I've been picking up my Korean history as a result of getting into these movies, and I've learned a lot and read quite a few books recently. So there's some interesting observations to make. I just want to go back to the chat, though, and welcome everybody who is here, and thank you all for being here. And if you get the chance to share the stream out and hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. So Shinotsky, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, I would love to have Shinotsky on to talk about this. Have a good show. Good to see you, Anima Confusa, who undoubtedly is going to stay in the chat rather than hang out with Gary, I think.
I mean, who could blame her, really?
I know. Christian Delorme, our great friend. Good day, everybody. What a great movie. It is a great movie.
See, man. I got to get you back on the show one of these days because we're about to talk about some rock and roll that's right up your alley.
Well, Christian's a great guy, and we've been trying to get a Foreigner stream going because he and I and Joe are big fans of Foreigner. I may do it as one of these Monday shows, but he works on a Monday afternoon, so it's kind of, and I want Christian to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What does this have to do with Chuck Norris? Well, I'm not entirely sure, other than perhaps this. That would be Chuck's reaction to a train full of zombies, I believe.
Followed shortly by a rocket to destroy the entire train.
K-pop is interesting. It's Sorry, my pronunciation is
J-pop are two sides of the same coin. Is basically Asian groups try to encapsulate what 80s America did well. Which is why it's so popular in the West now, is that it's what we did well, and then we forgot about and tried to do something different. And sometimes that something different isn't good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm a huge fan of K-pop and J-pop. I like Korean movies and TV, but I kind of draw the line at K-pop. Although a lot of those people end up as actors and actresses in these movies. So
closest I get to J-pop is baby metal.
Well, I'll say that the Japanese metal scene has always been really kick-ass. And we're probably going to get to one of their albums really shortly, either as a group, if you guys are in, or just me on my Rumble channel, where I'll take you through some of Anthem's new stuff. Because I've loved them for a lot of years. Razorfist put me on to them. And you know what? The Japan scene absolutely shreds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about Korean movies and about this movie in particular. I mean, it's been a great journey for me. First of all, I would say, again, there will be spoilers. Absolutely. There's no way to avoid that. Secondly, I will mangle the names of many, many people. Because even though I watch a lot of Korean stuff and I prefer my stuff in Korean with English subtitles, I still can't identify the names half the time. So I'm still saying them as I read them on the page, not as a Korean person would pronounce them. So my deepest apologies for getting those wrong. I will give it my best shot. It wasn't actually me, I have to say, that got into the Korean stuff initially. It was my good lady wife, Mrs. Rock fan, who started watching on Netflix a couple of shows. One was called Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha, and another was called Crash Landing on You, starring the magnificent Hyun Bin. And she said, these shows are really good, like really, really good. She got absolutely caught up in them. So we said, well, what else are these guys in there in these? And we started watching some TV, started watching some movies. And then I realized I'd heard about a lot of the movies anyway, like this one. So it's been like a 2-3 year journey of okay, I haven't heard of that one. This guy's in it. Oh yeah, this looks good. Watching it and going, well, what's the next one? I've absolutely loved it. I mean, there's so many I haven't watched yet, which is great because it's like 30, 40 years, a treasure trove of stuff. So it's been, again, more gangrene style than Gangnam style. That's true. Just call them all Jeff or Barry. It's fine. Sorry. I probably will. But yeah, so for me, it was a big journey like that. I mean, I know a lot of people have watched movies like Train to Busan when they came out. I was aware of it, but I didn't make any effort to find it or whatever. So now I deeply regret that. But on the other hand, it's never too late to the party, you know. So I don't know about Pope and John. I mean, have you got a sort of record of being aware of these Korean movies and TV shows?
Some of them, like the genre stuff, I definitely find out more about than a lot of the drama and stuff. I don't watch a lot of that, but I won't hesitate to watch a genre show from Korea at all.
Yeah, cool. And Pope, I don't know if you'd encountered any of their output in the past.
Well, I mean, about the only thing I'd seen from the Korean film industry was I went over to my best friend's house a couple of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago now, and he was watching this Korean War drama that was set during, the actual Korean War. I think it was North Korean, actually. And it was a really interesting war movie.
Oh,
and, I watched I sat down with him and watched most of it, and it was really good. I don't remember the name of it now.
Well, there's been a few, and there's certain subjects crop up a lot in Korean movies. I mean, there are tropes in Western movies. There are kind of tropes in Korean ones. One is there will always be something about the war. There will be stuff about the Joseon period, pre-colonial occupation by Japan. There'll always be something about North Korean spies defecting and teaming up with South Korean ones to defeat evil politicians on both sides. You start to see the patterns of the things that the movies they like to make and the issues they like to talk about, and then in the more socially conscious ones.
But that was kind of my dump into Korean movies, and I really liked it, and I just hadn't really dove back into it until like this movie had been on my radar. A bunch of people have recommended it. I just hadn't watched it. I'm like, all right, it'll be on my to watch list, and then things got in the way and all that. And I finally watched it this week, and I firmly see why people are fans of Korean cinema.
Yeah, for me, the particularly as I'm interested in the action genres, the historical drama genres. I think we lost CC. He joined us, and we've lost him. Hopefully, he comes back. Come back, buddy. Come back. They make a lot of, yeah, they make in fantasy and sci-fi stuff. They make a lot of the things that I'm into. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, one of the first Korean movies that I remember seeing is The Host.
Yes, and that is a great movie, albeit an allegory for American capitalism in Korea, I believe.
Yeah.
But leaving that aside, so CC Karaoke, welcome, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, great to see you, sir. I think maybe the first time you've actually streamed on my channel. I'm not entirely sure.
No, you were on. He was on here a couple of months ago, weren't you?
Yeah, for the music related stuff.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I like the comment from Smilex here. I live in the north of England, so this film doesn't represent the worst public transport experience as far as I'm concerned. He's right. This is like this is like a daily occurrence in British Rail. You know, this is what it looks like, and that's without zombies. But
as someone who's ridden the DC Metro a couple of times, well, yeah, you're not wrong.
So it's great that Mrs. Münchausen, Lady Münchausen, loves the film, and she got you to watch it, because I do watch a lot of the Korean stuff with my wife. She's not too keen on some of the gorier stuff. She did watch this and enjoyed it, though. She leans slightly more towards the dramas. I lean more towards the kick-ass action and genre stuff. So, but we do meet in the middle on some of the crime and cop things and gangster things. Anyway, their concerns for me in their movies, and they have tropes, are generally not the same ones as we have our Western cultures infiltrated with now. Yeah, they are interested in equality of female equality, and there are storylines around that, but they're more interested in the old-fashioned class struggle, given that they're not that far back from the feudal system there. So there's a lot of that, and there's some of that in this movie with the CEO passenger showing his disdain for the others and not working together with them.
Yeah, they
so
went
there
pretty
are
hard on
themes.
that.
Yeah, there's definitely themes of that nature in here. However, they just make wonderful entertainment, and I've grown to love a lot of the actors and actresses that are in them. And this certainly became one of my favorites. So just hide that for now. So we got, I think, in the style that we typically do for these films, if it's okay with you guys, is I like to talk a little bit about the people that are in it, some of the other stuff they've been in, and then we get into the movie stills and clips, and we can just chat in general about those. So let me call that up on the screen. One-man band here again. There we go. So it's a 2016 action horror film, I guess you could describe it. Directed by Yeon Sang-ho, following the story of this guy, Seo Seok-woo, a workaholic businessman, and his daughter, Soo-an, who board a train from Seoul to Busan to visit her mother on her birthday. And train travel is still pretty popular in Korea. They've got it's like Japan. They've got the bullet trains, they've got fast trains, good service. They actually they do like setting films on trains, like Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
They got this thing. But the journey takes a bit of a horrifying turn when a zombie outbreak spreads throughout South Korea, and the passengers on the train become trapped with the infected. It was made in 16 weeks, budget of $8.5 million, and I believe globally it has grossed $100 million. So
this was only an $8.5 million movie.
yeah,
Wow.
The special effects certainly don't show it.
They do not, and they have a brilliant stunt director and coordinator that we're going to talk about in a little while. But it in South Korea in 2016, it was the top grossing movie. They do count bums on seats, as it were. 11 million tickets sold in a country of 66 million people, something that's pretty damn good. And it did do pretty well in other territories, so well over 100 million. And I think that there's good reasons for that we'll definitely get into when we're watching some of the action. The star of the movie is this guy, a guy called Gong Yoo. He has got a full Korean name, but like some of them, I think they abbreviate their name a bit just for they westernize it a little bit. So Gong Yoo, he's actually born in Busan, so
okay,
he was going home. He's been more of I would suggest that as an actor, I mean, he's very popular, but mainly TV over movies. And you would not necessarily have pegged him as an action movie guy, which is possibly why they cast him. Playing that everyman white collar businessman.
Well, in this role, I mean, you don't want an action star. You want, a guy who plays,
an
your
everyman,
typical pencil pushing office worker who's just taking his daughter.
Yeah, that's right.
To see his grandparents.
Yeah, his concerns are more office worker. He's not an action guy. We have an action guy in the movie with him.
Yeah.
But so this is a clip, an image from a TV show that called. Well, it's called New Two Names. There's a version of it called Guardian, the Great and Lonely God, and there's another version called Goblin. It's the same show. And he plays this 1,000-year-old goblin who is killed back in treachery back in the old days. He's killed, but he becomes immortal, and then lives through to the present day, trying to figure out how to get revenge on the reincarnated nasty people who did things to him, and find
the
his
Korean version of like Randall Savage.
kind of, yes.
Okay.
So this is another rite of passage for Korean actors to play roles like that, with the full armor on and whatever. But I mean, really, it's a
sort of a
romantic
mixture of like Randall Savage and the Highlander.
Yes, it's really a romantic comedy, though. It's actually a really cute show with
So
a lot
really
of
more like Highlander.
Yeah, it's a romantic comedy. Yeah, here he is in some of it was shot in Quebec City, which is quite neat. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful city. So big romantic leading star. Then and that Goblin show is not for everybody, and it's a bit long. This is the problem; they pad them out a bit, but it did have some fantastic scenes in it. He also was the lead in that Netflix thing, The Silent Sea sci-fi show, which I thought was okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to look that up because I saw a couple scenes out of it and it looked pretty good. So
Yeah, I know people have
give it a watch.
slagged it off, but I liked it. I liked it well enough. The sets were brilliant, I thought, and he's really good. And he also has a fairly brief appearance in Squid Game.
Okay, that's where I recognized him from then.
Yeah,
He was like, I knew I've seen him somewhere, but
yeah, he's this guy who keeps recruiting people in the in this train station, and he is in season 2 apparently. So he only had a very small role, but it was, well, that's Gong Yu. You know, there was a lot of cameos in Squid Game of well-known people. So the guy sitting next to him is also the star of many great movies, and I'm going to mention one of them later. He's been a big star in Korea for years. Again, I don't want to mispronounce his name, so he's a star. But then we have our action man, one of my favorite guys of any genre or whatever, you know, Korean, American, whatever. The great Ma Dong-suk, or Don Lee as he's known, westernized. He plays a guy called Sang Hwa, and he's like your blue collar guy next to Gong Yu's white collar guy, and so Gong Yu's on the train with his daughter, he's on the train with his pregnant wife, and they're thrown together in this battle for survival. And what can we say about this guy? He is absolutely he is a stud. I mean, this guy is the big man. They've compared him a lot to Dwayne Johnson. I think he's streets ahead of Dwayne Johnson in all respects. He has made one or two Western movies like them, Immortals. But I wouldn't hold that against him. Great action guy. I mean, I really think he needs to work out more, though. I mean, you know, the funny thing is, in his earlier career, he also did, like, we were watching a TV show he did called Squad 38, and he's playing a bit of a wimp in it, and he's not all bulked up. So I would like to recommend a couple of movies of his for those out there who are new to Korean movies. The Outlaws, and the follow-up to it is called The Roundup. And they're making a third one this year. He's basically a cop in Seoul, as a lot of them are, but he's always slapping people. This is him just about to slap this guy. He's a power slapper.
That almost no matter what country you come into, there's a couple of genres of movies that do really well, or TV shows especially. Yeah. Police dramas, lawyer dramas, and fire and EMS.
Yeah,
like if you're in the U.S., you remember things like Hill Street Blues or NYPD Blue, and then Third Watch, where they kind of add in or in the modern era, and that's actually the same producer, Dick Wolf, being the Chicago trilogy of like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med, and they're all great shows.
Yeah, and they do cop stuff really well, I find. Again, there's a formula, but these movies are actually kick-ass action movies with some brutal action. There's a fight scene on a bus. Now, we all know the fight scene in Nobody, the film Nobody. This fight scene on this bus in it is with Son Soo-koo, is another one of my favorite actors. It is absolutely brutal. and he's a big guy, and he's known as the Beast Cop, and he slaps people. He'll walk in the middle of a bunch of armed people and just slap them, and they'll. So it's funny.
Well, when you look at him in comparison to apparently, like, your average Korean person who's like the background in most of these scenes, he's not that much taller, but he's like twice their width.
Yeah, he's not taller, but he's a big guy. Absolute stud. He's been in a ton of movies. I think round about Train to Busan was when he was starting to get some real traction internationally. He's a total fan favorite in Korea, and I know why, because his movies just kick ass.
And
this is another great one.
He sells his roles really well too.
Yeah. But these three movies I just mentioned, check them out if you've never seen them. I can't wait for the next Roundup movie that's coming out this year, because he's just a force of nature.
And I love the initial tension between him and the main character, where they're kind of antagonistic towards each other at the start.
Well, Gong Yu tries to shut the door on him and his wife at one point. Yeah. So
at first they're just like, hey, guess what? And
there's
a lot of friction there.
Exactly. The lady that plays his wife in this, Young Yu-mi, I haven't really seen her in a lot of stuff, although she's done 3 movies with Gong Yu, funnily enough, the other actor. And she directs as well, more melodramas and dramatic stuff, so not many action roles. But the real one of the real stars for me was the girl, and I did want to spend a little time talking about this. And so the girl is Kim Soo-an, and she plays a character called Soo-an. I guess they wanted to make it easier for her. She's Gong Yu's character's daughter, and he's taken her to Busan to see her mother because they're separated. Now, this little girl, I don't know about you guys, but child actors normally annoy me.
Yeah, she did a little bit here too, but more because it's one of those, it's like, stop crying, we have shit to do.
Yeah, indeed.
Less than like, this character's just annoying.
But this little girl, though, made a big impression in this movie. And in the same year, she made another movie where she doesn't do any of that crying. Well, she does a bit, but she's tough as nails. A movie called The Battleship Island, which is out there on streaming services if you all want to watch it. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful but dark World War II action drama. Basically a bunch of she held her own in this movie with the guy that's carrying her there is Hwang Hyun-min, who's one of the best Korean actors of all time. Absolute legend. He's a brilliant actor. He's seen in all sorts of movies. She held her own with him, and he's like the De Niro or Pacino of Korea in terms of reputation. This movie, actually, if you've never seen it, it's about a real place called Hashima.
Check that out.
Hashima Island, and it's an island 15 kilometers off the coast of Nagasaki, and it was a coal mine for many decades. But during the war, the Japanese brought forced labor in with Koreans.
And actually, being a fan of the series, Avatar: The Last Airbender did a episode that was based on this island.
Yeah, it's a famous island. It's now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and was featured in the last Bond movie. That's where he ends up.
That's why I haven't seen it in person.
Yeah.
Last Bond movie, no.
And this is another theme of Korean movies, is the relationship with the Japanese, who occupied the country from the 1890s up to the end of the Second World War and treated it as a basically part of Japan, but exploited the population greatly.
Say as a part of Japan, as a vassal state,
but with there is no Korea anymore. Yeah, it's like just a recalcitrant province. But they shipped these people here. Now the movie's fictional because it shows them doing an armed breakout, and that never happened. But everything else about it is pretty accurate. And it's a brutal story. And she really holds her own in it.
And it's something that I think Western historians don't talk about a lot about during that period is the things that Imperial Japan was doing to a lot of their conquered territories. It was pretty bad.
It was, and that's another major theme in Korean movies. This is actually the guy I just talked about, Hwang. I'll just call him Wang because it's easier. Hwang Young-min did this. He does a lot of kick-ass movies, like one called Veteran, but this one, Deliver Us from Evil, is a brilliant movie. I recommend it to anyone. The guy standing behind him is from Squid Game, Lee Young-ye, the lead in Squid Game. He's the baddie in that one. So check that out. He's a great actor. It's a brutal. He's trying to find his captured daughter from these gangsters. So, another guy that's in it, just briefly, I think this is the last actor I really want to highlight, is just because I like the guy. He's a guy called Kim Yu-sung. He plays the snotty CEO businessman, like who's everyone's beneath him, and he's only interested in saving himself. So the worst of humanity.
Later on, you find his motivation for wanting to do that.
You do,
and you really feel bad for him right at the end.
It is interesting how they almost made him sympathetic. Almost. That's after he dumped the rail conductor to get bitten. But very versatile character actor. He was in the Guardian show I talked about with Gong Yu. He was in that one. He's great at playing villains. He played this guy in a show called Mr. Sunshine that I absolutely adore. It's a historical drama. It's on Netflix. He played one of the Japanese occupiers in the 1890s. Absolutely ruthless, horrible guy. So brilliant character actor. Everybody loves guys that can play bad guys, you know. Mr. Sunshine, I've got a video on it. Great show. If you love historical dramas, brilliant show. Starring the great Lee Hyung-bin in the middle, who's another super famous Korean actor. Also in Squid Game. He was the front man in Squid Game. So the director is this guy, Yeon Sang-ho. He did the Train to Busan. He did the animated one before it, which I've not seen, Seoul Station, and then Peninsula. But he's also done... so he did... I actually have this on my list to watch. I will watch Peninsula at some point. But he also did... he wrote and directed Young-E, which is an interesting enough movie on Netflix. Not too bad, if you've never seen it. And this I've started watching. I've just started watching again on Netflix show, a TV show called Hellbound. He's the director of that too. So, but the guy that really everybody loves the action in Train to Busan. Sorry, the Battleship Island is definitely not Korea's version of Love Island, unless you include the Korean comfort woman that the Japanese pressed into service there. So.
And I do like the fact that they don't shy away from that, because that is something that was very common in Japanese conquered territories, and one of the most horrific things that Japanese used to do on a regular basis.
And I'm not knocking the Japanese people. It's just a historical fact that appears in a lot of these movies. It's not to be ignored. But, you know.
Well, Japan had the Department 731, which was this horrendous... they just used to do experiments on the Koreans and on the Chinese prisoners.
Yeah. They had their own version of Joseph Mengele.
Yeah. Except it was a whole department of them.
If you read the actual history, Korea and others, but Korea for a longer period was completely brutalized by the military martial way that the Japanese had introduced at that time when they overthrew the old Meiji system. But anyway, the thing that really sets this movie apart is a lot of it is the action. So the action and stunt coordinator is this guy, Young Do Hong. He's martial artist, choreographer, stunt coordinator, actor, action director. He's done so many movies. We can't go through them all. He's worked a lot with Lee Byung Hun, the Mr. Sunshine guy. He's his stand-in in movies. He even looks a little bit quite like him. And he's fairly well put together, I guess, you know, if you like that kind of thing. So he's directed, he's done the stunt work on films like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which Lee Byung-hun is the star of, and also Don Lee is in it in a smaller part. Funny movie. It's like a Korean
Western.
It's a Korean Western in Manchuria in the 1930s. It's funny.
That sounds awesome, actually.
It is. It's a lot of fun. If you've never seen this movie, a lot of fun.
All right, I'll have to check
But
that out.
he's also the stunt coordinator and action director for The Raid, which, if you've never seen The Raid, you're missing out.
You really are, because some of the action choreography there is damn near perfect to how it actually works.
Yeah. So that's the team that put together this wonderful movie. I like to go over that so people can see the quality of the people involved. I actually agree with Christian. I liked the little girl in Train to Busan. I didn't like the pregnant wife as much.
Well, in the sense that the little girl's acting like a little girl. Like she doesn't know what to do with any of this, so she's freaking out.
Yeah, I mean the scenes where she goes to the bathroom and comes out and all hell is broken loose, which is a funny scene because Don Lee tells her, "Go down to the next one. This one's busy. Go down," because his wife's in there. Go on. Shoes her away. Which is funny later on.
The best part is that's like all normal human interaction. Like, hey, my wife's in this one. Go on to the next.
Yeah,
and it's something normal for a guy to hang out around next to the bathroom and wait for his wife or kid, whoever, to get out of there.
Indeed. I'd like to say a big hello to anyone watching over in Rumble. We are number 1 on the entertainment tab right now, so that's great. Anyone in Rumble, anyone that gets a chance in Rumble and you're watching, put something in the chat and let us know you're there. And click the thumbs up. Thank you. I know it's hard to do if you're watching on mobile and the Rumble app. It's a little tricky.
They're still working on that. From what I hear, it's come a long way, but it's still not great.
Yeah. But here on YouTube, we got a lot of people in the chat. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you all. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're going to get into some of the actual scenes. And I have some video clips, but we've got the stills collage, and so let's get into that. There we go. So the Korean. Well, I actually like the way this starts because something's clearly going on. I think if you read the synopsis, it's very prescient because it's a biological plant, research lab, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, this came out in 2016, right? So
Yeah.
they got the reactions down pretty well. I love that part in the train later on where it's like, don't let them near us. They might be infected. You know.
That's right. And this is very ahead of its time because they were messing in this plant with something and it leaked out, and the result is everything in this zombie virus starts to affect people. Now, it doesn't say how it first got transmitted, like because in this, I don't think it's airborne. People are going to bite each other.
Well, that's one of the beauties of most zombie universes is that they never tell you until way later how the disease is actually transmitted.
Yeah, that's right. And what I did find interesting as well is, I mean, I'm not a connoisseur of all zombie movies, but animals are affected in this one. You know, we see a zombie.
That's an interesting one. And even The Walking Dead never really had that, where you didn't have zombie animals.
Yeah, and it's so if you're going to go down the route of zombie animals, I was thinking, do you have zombie insects? Because if you did, then we're all screwed no matter what you do.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, pretty much as soon as I saw the fast zombies from World War Z, it's like, okay, they're all fucked.
Train from
There's no way
Wuhan.
you're going to stop that.
Yeah.
You're just going to pile up bodies and they're going to run right over them until the point where you run out of ammo, and then you're done.
Yeah, because if you've got everything, if everything with a pulse can be zombified, then there's no point what you do as a human race. You're screwed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially
So,
like any old people or people who are sick.
You're talking about me?
Essentially inviting trouble.
Yeah, E-Clay says this
Which
is
you
a
see in this
remake of
movie,
Train
too.
from Wuhan. That could get us banned, but you know.
But you see that in this movie too, where at one point this old woman sees her friend sacrifice herself to save the rest, and then sees the reaction from the people she's in a compartment with, and
that's one of
basically
my
says,
favorite scenes because
these guys don't deserve to live. I want to
That's
see my
right.
friend again. Yoink.
Yeah, she screws them hard in that carriage because they're shitty people anyway.
And I'm not saying they don't deserve it.
That's right. I must point out the woman you're talking about is I can't remember the actress's name, but she's in a show called Bulgasal Immortal Souls on Netflix. Not a bad show, just 6 episodes too many, and that's another problem when they spin it out to 16. There's too much filler because the good parts were good. It's like
I miss the old days when all TV shows were like 26 episodes a season, and
yeah, well,
you knew
it's
what you had.
Not when they're filling them up with things that they've said 5 times before, and then because they don't have the money for the entire thing to be an expensive action movie. So.
Fair.
But so this relationship he has, he's a white collar guy. He's a bit cold with his daughter, doesn't know how to react to her, which becomes it's an important plot point, you know. I mean, he's not.
Well, he's relatable to the modern man too, in that he's working so much to support his family that he can't really relate to his daughter in a lot of ways because he's gone all the time.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a real bond with her. You know, it's all work.
And they say that later in the movie. I won't spoil it. We'll get to that, but it's one of the bonding moments between him and I can't remember the actor's name.
Don Lee.
Don Lee. Where he sees how he treats his daughter and stuff like that, and that kind of bonds them.
Yeah, this is one of the charms of the movie is it shows their growing bond only at the end to make it even more heartrending.
Of guys that initially met each other under conflict. Like, hey, you just shut that door in my face.
Yeah, it's got a humanity. The humanity is a big part of this. So first of all, frightened people doing things for self-survival, but eventually some bonds forming for mutual support, and then people
trying to do the right thing,
and then sacrificing,
even under extreme circumstances where they had every reason not to. Characters doing the right thing morally.
Yeah, they're making difficult decisions to help
that sometimes got them killed.
Yeah, help one another survive,
even if it leads to their death. It will help everyone else.
Now, I like this. They're getting on the train. It's a great train system they have there, by the way. But they're getting on the train, and you know, something's happening somewhere, and somebody gets on the train.
I love the lead up to this, where you don't know what's happening, but something just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. Something's not quite right, and now this is the high school baseball team. It's another big part. They have a big part to play in this, and because you couldn't have a zombie movie or a horror movie without high school kids in it, so somebody's got to be canon fodder.
Yeah, especially because when you, like you say, they're cannon fodder. They're too young to know anything.
Yeah, so
they're just reacting out of pure emotion, and it goes about as well as you'd think.
Yeah, but it is interesting that the way the high school students react to all of this, and one or two of them step up to be part of the team.
Well, I think initially like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
actually start defending the rest of their classmates, and then at the end you have one.
Now you see that's the lady, that's the actress there. That's the two sisters. She's the one that's in the Bulgasal show. So, and she is in a lot of other shows. You start to recognize the same actors in
And
many of these.
I knew she was going to be important because they kept focusing the camera on her at several
Yeah.
points, but she wasn't doing anything. So
Well,
kind of one of those,
indeed.
this is going to be important later.
That's right. There's something
Kind of
she's
scene.
going to do that's going to be significant. And this, as they're getting on, yeah, here we go. So this is the sick girl that gets onto the train. So shit's clearly going down, and you see it on the news screens later
Mm-hmm.
with footage of riots, and they just call it riots in Seoul. And I'm thinking,
I like that
Because
part
they don't
too.
know what else to call it.
Mostly peaceful protests.
Mostly peaceful protests by zombies. Sorry, CC, you were going to say something?
Oh, I love that whole sequence. They were. I mean, it was a little on the nose, but the way they were, the official channels were talking about how everything's being, taken care of, everything's under control, we're safe, we're handling it, and then everyone's looking at YouTube clips of everyone like dying.
Well, I mean that's how it goes these days, isn't it? Where like everyone's like, "Hey, everything's fine. It's not going to be a problem, whatever." And then people are looking at actual reactions from people who are on the ground and are like, we got to get the fuck out of here."
Yeah,
Like now.
exactly. Well, and this guy's important too. He's like a kind of a homeless guy, or he plays a big part. And again, heroic sacrifice is part of it. Clay mentions, was the old lady? Hold on, sorry, hang on, Pope. Clay's saying, was that old lady in Pachinko? I think you may be right. She was in Pachinko, which is a pretty famous, up-to-date Korean movie from a novel. Sorry, Pope, go ahead.
I would say his character is really great in this movie because for a couple of scenes, he's actually a detriment.
Well, when you first see Don Lee here, is that who you're talking about?
No. The previous guy.
Oh, Gong Yu, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually kind of a detriment in that he is so traumatized by what he's just seen that he's just insane.
He's frozen.
And then later in the movie, you'll see him again, and they save him, and it costs Don Lee his life.
Yeah, and when we first see Don Lee here, he's a bit brash. He's almost shoving his wife around a little bit, and she's giving him shit. You're not necessarily liking him when you first see him.
He just seems like a guy who's a little overprotective of his wife, which...
Yeah. And he's shoving the girl away and whatever.
But at the same time, we've all been there, especially in stressful situations. Like, hey, I have a pregnant wife. Like, this is the most important thing in the universe.
Yeah. Well, we've all been in a zombie apocalypse, so we all know how we.
Well, but at the same time, it's like we all have that like prime objective, and everything else suffers for it. Like, so he's a bit brusque with everybody else.
Yeah. It's interesting how would we recognize in this situation that we are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse?
Not at first. And that's what I love about this movie is you're kind of it's a lot like Battle Los Angeles in a way, where you're finding out what's going on about the same time as the characters do.
Yeah. Well, now we're getting into the first real action of the movie. I'm going to play this clip.
팀장님 어디쯤 오고 계세요? 진짜 미치겠네. 팀장님?
Now, is it me or does she just look like a normal teenager these days?
Well, I mean, she's not that much brighter, but that's not, that much difference.
I love. So this is where I found I really started to love this movie. We talked about the budget, but the makeup, then did it in certain ways. The makeup, and
This is great.
This is great, yeah. And they're fast, so they're fast. They leap on there. The physical acting is fantastic. Like the way
It's
that
like
girl
World War
moved her
Z, where,
body,
like,
the way
you
she
know,
twisted
in The
her
Walking
body.
Dead or like the Romero zombie movies, like you need to get caught by surprise to get bit.
And all of a
Here,
sudden,
it's just like they rush you, and one wrong move is all it takes.
yeah, and you turn pretty quickly.
Within minutes in most times.
Oh yeah. So this is where there's a great clip which was on Movie Clips, and I'm going to show it. The Train of the Living Dead is what the clip was called. So they're starting, something's going on at the other end, and people are going, what? No, they think it's just a fight, I think.
I think willpower has a lot to do with how fast you turn.
Yeah.
Because that's a spoiler. I guess we'll get to it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
But when Don gets bitten and he's holding everybody back, he's fighting it. You could see he starts to turn, his eyes change, and he shakes it off. And
well, as is his character, he's fighting the whole time, and he has a reason to.
Even the COO guy, he's after he changes, he's still fighting it because he needs to get to Busan.
It takes a long time to turn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his redemption arc in a way, is you see why he's trying to do that. He's trying to get back to his mother.
So I just want to play another little clip that's set in this part of the movie. Not bad, eh? I love the makeup. I love the ways the actors are contorting themselves. It's just awesome.
It's fairly simple. You can tell that most of it isn't CGI.
Yeah, there's very little of that. There's quite a lot of makeup effects. There's a few bits and pieces of CGI, but not much. It's a good mixture.
Outside of like later in the series, when you see like the human wave of zombies, like you do in World War Z. I guarantee that's where they took inspiration from, because I think World War Z came out a year or two before this.
Yeah.
And the zombies in that are just terrifying.
Yeah. Now, I love the fact that you're already going to get the feeling, though, that it's a long train. People are fleeing away from these carriages. The carriages are going to play a big part in this.
Well, yeah, and it's I love how it's foreshadowing and also kind of not. In that, like, it's compartmentalization, but it's almost like a flooding ship, almost like the Poseidon Adventure.
Oh yeah, there's an element of that in this, absolutely.
Which we do need to do an episode on the original Poseidon Adventure.
Well, we did the Towering Inferno. I always wanted to do more disaster movies. We'll definitely do that one.
Because I watched that one again recently, and god damn, it's such a good movie.
Bloody good movie, that. Yeah, I love it.
But it's very similar here, where they're trying to compartmentalize it and trying to kind of minimize the damage at first.
They also eventually end up using the carriages of the train as almost like a social class thing, because there's a lot of social class commentary.
Yeah, which is where the kind of political side of this comes in.
Yeah, but that is the stratified society that they live in, given that there's the sort of the new feudal class as the CEOs. So where are we seeing that now, of course, here?
Well,
but they have a very formal stratified society. Respect is given to elders, respect is given to position, and you see it in action in here.
Well, a lot of that is just traditional Asian cultures. Korea is like that.
Yeah.
Japan is definitely like that.
Well, it's a Confucian thing. It's part of that respect to elders, respect to your betters, blah blah blah, and it's built into them for 2,000 years.
Well, yeah.
And you see it in here though in a modern setting with, well, that car is full of people we don't want because they're beneath us.
Well,
They
I
can
mean,
s-
it comes across, especially maybe we're hypersensitized to it, being Westerners who are going through this massive culture war right now. But it basically seems as a class struggle thing you would see from a classical Marxist doctrine.
Yeah, and I think that there's I don't see a lot of these so the class struggle is in a lot of these Korean shows and movies. The poor people fighting against the corrupt rich people. It doesn't come across ever as a Marxist thing. It's more a, we want our fair break, and you guys are taking too much of your own.
But at the same
but
time,
they're shown
a
as
lot
corrupt.
of it is, if you look at the rhetoric that they're using, a lot of it is Marxist rhetoric from not modern Marxist rhetoric, but traditional Marxist and Engelist rhetoric.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's
didn't mean
like,
to. Yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to necessarily dive too deep into whether it's
I'm
dialectic, Marxist
studying
dialectic.
political science, so I see that.
Oh,
Well,
no.
I think the ultimate moral of this whole movie is it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to die anyway.
And
Yeah.
that is what comes out. Yeah.
They really leaned into that one. It's like, could maybe save a few of them, or you just might as well kill them all, right?
Well, the CEO's view is, why should I die? I'm a CEO of whatever company. Why should I die for those people? Just wanted
there is an element to that.
Yeah, couple of things I forgot to say that I really like the neck of that first stewardess, or whatever you would call her, that got the first bite. She's showing her neck off like this. I thought, what a pretty neck. No wonder it was getting bitten. And and it was just
one too many Hammer films again, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Very Hammer. And this is where, of course, Gong Yu's character tried to shut the door on Ma Dong-suk and his wife. Like, he shuts the door on them, and then eventually they get through, and they're like, "You, Marker, you just sacrificed us." But he says, "Well, lots of people are at risk here, not just you two." So,
and the funny thing is, the audience, I know I did, I understood both sides of that argument.
Yeah.
At one point, this guy is just trying to protect his daughter.
Well, does everybody have to die, or can some people be saved? Is the eternal struggle.
Well, and the other part is when he shuts the door on, I forget, Don Lee. I really want to learn his actual name, but
Ma Dong-suk.
Ma Dong-suk?
Yeah. But it's Don Lee. Don Lee's what he wants to be known as these days. So.
Okay, so if that's what he wants to be known as, Don Lee, he shuts the door on him because he's trying to protect his daughter.
Yes.
And it's a very human emotion. And
absolutely. And so there are odds here. But
yes,
later on,
it takes a minute, but he does open the door and let them in.
It doesn't take long for them to bond, though, to work together. It's pretty swift, which I find is good.
Well, because they've saved each other a couple of times.
So now they're coming into this station, and someone's been talking to Gong Yu on the phone, saying, a friend he's got saying, you can get off of that station, it's safe. And the CEO wants to stop there.
It sounds like from the conversation they're having on the phone that he has contacts in the Korean army.
Yes. But this is why,
hey, we have established a defensive zone at I forget the station's name.
It's Cheong, I think. Cheonong. Yeah.
And
they're getting news from outside.
Get off and come here, and we'll get you through.
Yeah. Well, they think getting off the train is safer than staying on the train with a bunch of zombies. They think it's safer. That's the general view.
That's kind of the cool thing for the whole audience is that, okay, they're getting here, they're going to be safe, right? Because that's everything they've been told.
Yeah, and you would think that I'm trapped in this metal tube with a bunch of zombies. I'm getting out of here.
Anything outside of this must be safer than that, right?
Yeah,
It also happens so fast that I mean, they condense this into what the space of 12 hours, 12 to 18 hours. It goes from like the initial incident.
It's
to just
less than that. It's
Yeah.
actually less than that, CC,
I think
because
it's
the
6 hours.
no, it's even less than that. The train
Because
journey.
he says he's going to get it like by lunchtime, right?
Yeah, the train journey from Seoul to Busan is like 2-3 hours. It's a 4 maximum. It's not a long journey. Now they get off at the station, which extends it, of course. But this leads to some of the best scenes in the movie in this railway station. He doesn't like that guy. Leech. That's his daughter, and he's saying, "Your father's a leech." Oops. Oops. Way to endure yourself. It's like a nickname, yeah. So I love these scenes coming up in this train station, especially the fact it's totally deserted to start with. It's just awesome. So the effects were makeup and visual effects were done with a combination of prosthetics and computer generated imagery, and some of the veins and stuff in the face were just actually drawn on. But it looks great. I can't see. I don't know. Have you guys seen any flaws in that? I think it looks great.
I didn't see any.
Not really. Including the point where at the final stage, someone's veins would all be bulged out and black and stuff like that, but their eyes would still be the normal black or brown, and that's when they would still be coherent. Like if spoiler alert, towards the end where he's having that conversation with the CEO and trying to reason with him, and his eyes are starting to milk over, but not gone yet.
Not gone yet. Yeah, he holds out a little longer,
and
maybe strong emotion.
And you feel bad for him at the end.
Maybe strong emotions hold it off a little longer. It could be there's something there.
Well, that's always been one of the things in zombie movies, is that the human will can hold off for a while.
Now, this guy had sneaked onto the train in the first place because he's indigent, as it were.
Well, he's also a survivor.
Oh, yeah. So I love this. It's
mentally
empty.
Traumatized.
This is clever, though, because they can film it. They wanted to film it in an empty train station, but that suits the movie entirely, the way they've done it.
Yeah.
That's what I like here. Is like I figure like maybe 30 minutes before this, the place actually was safe, right? It spread so quickly that the information they had could have been correct. Now
I mean, if you're following the timeline, the conductor was on the phone, on the radio to control. Yeah, saying that, hey, this is safe.
Well, Gong Yu's contact on the phone is saying, go to the East Square. Don't go to the main square. Go to the East Square of the town. So they still think it's safe.
Of the train is actually saying that, hey, this station is safe.
Yeah, but then right before he talks to him,
it's overrun.
Right before he talks to him, the guy says,
"Sorry, Pope, could you let John? Sorry, mate.
Right before he gets down at the bottom of the stairs, before they start coming up, he's talking on the phone to the guy. He says, "I've lost contact with my guys."
Yeah, it's that fast. I think it's that fast.
And by the time you see it on screen, it's clear that the army is lost.
Well,
like they were trying to hold that position, and they've just lost it.
We are about to find that out big style. Yeah. I just wondered, we talked about fast zombies, and we're about to see that in full action. Do anybody in the chat and on the panel think that they were done better in this or better in World War Z, or are we comparing two different things? I think it's pretty good in either of them. Now, here we go. So the army, they see the bottom when they're coming down. I like that. You think it could just be army guys facing the other way, protecting. No.
And then
So I
they
think-
all turn around and just start ragdolling. It's like, uh-oh.
하나. 수아, 너 여기 꼼짝말고 잠깐 있어?
I have to pause that because of copyright stuff. But typical army, don't you think, Pope?
Well, I mean, at that point, it's just like you're seeing a bunch of people milling around, like, okay, this is a checkpoint. We're going to deal with that. And then they turn around and they're all infected.
Yeah.
And you're on a conveyor to them.
Yeah, I was amused by that.
That's right. You're
They're
coming
literally just going down the
Yeah,
escalator.
it's not just like you're on the stairs. You're on an escalator going down to them.
delivering to them. They should have. Yeah, and these are conscripts because Korea still has the draft. So a lot of those are just young conscripts. They could never get their shit together to properly defend something.
Well, I
And
mean,
then the shit hits the fan.
it depends on what conscription you're talking about, because I've talked to a couple of South Korean conscripts, and they actually get trained pretty well.
Well, you can choose to go into different branches like special forces, MP, whatever,
Well,
or
no,
wherever
but
you
even the
choose.
guys who get, the duty of basically being the line grunts like me, they actually get trained pretty well.
Well, it's because they've got a massive Chinese communist and North Korean communist force sitting above them.
But at the same time, like, they set you up for success in a lot of ways, but this is well outside of what they were trained for.
Right, now this is great because they've broken out. In fact, I'll play just a little clip of the I love this particular. I love that human wave right through the glass.
Oh yeah, and I love that realization that, like, yeah, we just locked the door, and it's gonna buy us a couple of seconds, maybe.
And then they jump out the windows into the top of the train on the canopies. It's just freaking chaos. And everyone's fighting to get in, and people are fighting to close the doors on them. And it's a great, great sequence. That 5-10 minutes is just awesome. Oh, we didn't
Probably
see
some of the
the
best
indigent guy.
cinematography in the whole movie.
Sorry, the indigent guy. We didn't see it, but he saves Gong Yu when he's fighting to get out of the concourse. He wallops a zombie that's on top of him. So that guy saves our main guy in the movie. Critically saves him. Yep. There's a lot of running in this movie too. Yeah. Brilliantly done. I mean, imagine being an extra in this. It must have been such fun.
Oh yeah,
That would have been a lot of fun.
and a lot of them are extras because, like, this couldn't have been done with CGI. Like, you had to just have made up extras just running down a concourse in a Korean train station.
Yeah. Holiday de Coke. I only like fast zombies in Korean and Japanese media. Much better cinematography and choreography. I tend to agree with you. Absolutely. The cinematography and choreography in this movie is flawless, in my opinion. I've looked at it a few times. I've watched it years. I can't see any issues with it ever. I might be wrong, but that's just me. I'm not an expert. I'm just an appreciator. Armageddon. Were there zombies in Armageddon?
Just a
Hail
couple
Lord
of nuclear weapons.
Darius is saying 28 days later introduced the fast zombies into cinema. That could well
He's
be
not
true.
wrong.
Yeah. Good movie. Robert Carlyle. Great movie.
It's been a while since I watched it, but
yeah, me too. I haven't seen it for a while. It's in the top 10. I mean, I'd be interested to know, and I thought about putting a poll up, but what really people feel their favorite zombie movies are. I know I have a top 5 or 6 in the chat as we're going. If you feel free to throw them in there, and the ones you like the most, because it's now become a bit of a thing. I mean, everything's a zombie. Everybody's a zombie. There's zombies everywhere. Yeah, so they're back on the train and continuing to Busan, and things are going to get even more real soon. By the way, the high school team, that's one of the critical parts because they've got baseball bats. There's not a lot of weapons. This is not an American train that's probably heaving with concealed weaponry. These guys have got baseball bats. Nobody else has got anything. They've got nothing to fight with. Now, tunnels are an interesting point because I think this is where we find out if they go into a tunnel, the zombies kind of go, ugh. Like they need the daylight. The tunnels kind of confuse them a bit. And they basically got to get through this lot.
I was just thinking, tell the conductor to stop the train inside the tunnel.
Yeah, well, the tunnel, and they get to a tunnel later. I can't remember exactly where it is, and it's blocked, and that causes a problem because they got to get out and fix it, or at least they got to get out. So I'm getting a lot of video copyright warnings when I play these videos, but I did want to show this again. Another great moment when Don Lee, Gong Yu, and one of the high school baseball kids decide they're going to have to get through these carriages to their loved ones.
간다.
I love it. He's a big guy. He can really do this. I love that. You see them fighting together now. They're finally come to a team. They got to get their loved ones. Don Lee's such a big guy. He looks the part when he's throwing the guys around and hitting them over the head.
And the formation makes sense too. Like you have the big guy up front with Don Lee punching with both hands, driving the horde apart essentially, and then you have Gong Yu with the sword and a baton, kind of protecting his back against anything that's trying to turn on him. And then you have the kid in the back here. I don't know if we ever know what his name is.
You'd never get names for any of the high school kids. They're just like expendable.
Just driving things off with a baseball bat like he's been trained to.
He's trying to get to his girlfriend.
He's trying to do the best he can because you can tell even in the combat scenes, he's freaked out. Like he's just operating on autopilot. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to hit everything in front of me because the adults told me to.
Sorry, I just had to go to Rumble to mute a, what's the word? A troll that was posting crap. Hopefully I've done that successfully. Yeah. Apologies in Rumble for anybody that saw that message. But the tip of they've got the triangle, the spear, they've all got the roll, and they're working together, which is great. The three guys have clicked. Now this is again fantastic. How are we going to get through this absolutely packed carriage full of these assholes?
And this the cool part I thought is that they didn't tell you the rules of the zombies. They showed you.
Yep.
And you figure it out the same time the characters do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. They're blind.
Yes, they don't like the dark, and then you can use and then I don't know if it's at this point or later they use the luggage.
I think it's a couple of cars later.
To sneak through, which is just great. I mean, they're obviously sensitive to noise, but not as sensitive as like any noise, because you would make noise doing that. But here, this is where the humanity comes in, the teamwork. And you said it before, Pope, about men. You said it before we started the show, men being men, which is not something you'll get in Western movies much now.
Where they know what they have to do and they just do it.
Yeah,
Because
they're not waiting for
it's what's
direction
expected.
from the strong woman. They're actually they're going out there to do, and that's not to denigrate the girls in this movie, but the men are being guys. Don Lee is a guy. He's going to do guy things. Now this
And I
freak,
think we've all been in those situations where either something's required of you or you're expected to just take charge and do something, and you just do it.
yeah, they're protecting their families, and this slimy creep up here though wants to shut themselves off from everybody else.
That guy's a bitch doing bitch things.
He is a bitch
Yes,
doing bitch
yes, he
things.
is.
Albeit that, as somebody said earlier, you could kind of explain it. I mean, self-preservation is a strong
Yeah.
thing.
It is, but not in men so much. It's weird. We have a protective instinct of the group around us.
Yeah.
And that if there's a threat, we have a tendency, no matter how prepared or qualified we are to engage that threat, it's our job to just do it.
So in terms of zombie movies, yeah, my shot, Christian says, men acting like men and women being women. Christian likes 28 Weeks Later, which is the sequel to 28 Days Later, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was Robert Carlyle in that too? I can't remember. And what it was Sean Pertwee in one of them. I might be getting mixed up, but yeah, they're pretty good movies, British movies, I think, aren't they?
Yeah.
I like the original George Romero Night of the Living Dead, 1968, and the Dawn of the Dead, which was like 78. Dawn of the Dead, I think, is the one in the shopping mall. It's just freaking.
Oh, those are
hilarious.
absolute classics.
Yeah, the music did it.
I'm going with Dave on this one.
You going with what?
They did them in like 2005 with Ving Rhames and all that, and those were actually pretty decent too.
Not bad. Sorry, CC, what were you going with?
Day of the Dead is my favorite.
Oh, Day of the Dead, right? Sorry, yeah. Yeah, George Romero was great, but The Night of the Living Dead is an absolute classic. Black and white, 1968. I don't think I'd seen that many zombie movies from earlier than that. There might have been a few Hammer movies or something like that.
Zombies were kind of this thing that wasn't really a thing in the classic monster canon until the 60s.
Yeah.
At least as far as I'm aware.
Wasn't until George Romero did Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
Which
is such a great movie. And the ending though, it's such a mind fuck. The ending of that movie is one of the most shocking endings ever. Like, oh,
because if I remember correctly, voodoo or zombies are kind of a voodoo thing.
Yeah.
Which wasn't really popular
you
in the
might
20th century.
You would have seen them in movies set in, maybe down in the bayou or whatever. There's a key pivotal. So they're trying to block off the carriage that, meanwhile, Don Lee and Gong Yu are trying to block the zombies at one end. At the other end, they're getting locked out by the bad guy. There's a pivotal moment coming up, which I think I'm going to risk more copyright wrath by playing. So hang on a sec. It's this one. shocker of a moment there, which is when I first started to get the feeling in this movie that not everyone was meant to make it.
Well, I mean, it's a zombie movie. You figure like half the characters you're going to meet are going to die.
Yeah. But, you got your stars, the 2 stars there. You're thinking they're going to make it all the way to the end and fight their way to the end. Well, maybe not. This is not that kind of movie. And, he's screwed by that. I mean, he could have cut his arm off, couldn't he?
I get the feeling this movie really hates this.
I think in the first scene where you see that girl in the bathroom on the train, she's trying to tourniquet her leg.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
No. Well, you got to get the old chainsaw out, but there's no chainsaws on the train.
But even cutting off, it's not an infection. Even cutting off the leg doesn't work. And as we see in the opening scene, even animals are not immune from it.
Well, the blood gets pumped around your body instantly anyway. It's fast zombies, not like this Walking Dead zombies. You could cut their arm off and you could be saved, but not this. CC,
Well,
you were going to say something, CC? Sorry?
I mean, we'll get into it as we go further on, but it's like I feel like directly or indirectly that CEO character gets everybody killed in this movie.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It started to frustrate me, honestly. I enjoyed the movie, but it started to frustrate me. It's like, okay, a little overkill here.
He does. He's working against them all, really.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get it.
Accidentally. On his part. He's
Yeah, I mean,
afraid, just like anyone would be.
I mean, would we know what to do? Would any of us know what to do other than fight? I mean,
yeah, that's basically like, who has any, like, none of us have ever been trained for this.
yeah. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
No, John, you go ahead, mate.
I'd say I just realized I forgot to give you my favorite zombie movie,
Yes.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead. I was trying to clip some of that earlier for the show, and I ran out of time. Like, it was the one where he shoots his mother. Sorry, Mum.
Let's go down to the Winchester and have a pint till it all blows over.
That's right.
Dude, some of those movies are like the greatest, like,
I love
comedies of all time, because it's just like, it's the end of the world. Like, all right, let's just go down to the pub and have a pint.
It's such a British movie. Yeah, we'll go down to the pub, and nobody's got a gun.
It's not even just British. Like, maybe the Americans inherited that. It's just like, well, if it's all fucked anyway, we might as well just go down to the
Let's get down the pub
and wait for the end.
Let's get down the pub. Yeah, it's a great movie. That I love it. Yeah, I love all their
that
movies.
Hot Fuzz and what is it? The Bar at the End of the World.
Yeah, the pub at the end.
The end of the world.
That one, yeah, that one was less good than Shaun of the Dead. I think it was okay,
but all three of them were excellent.
Yeah, the Cornetto trilogy, as they call them, even though that's really got no. When they're all eating a cornetto in it somewhere, I guess. But yeah, did you see what you thought your favorite zombie might be? Zombie movie?
It's a tough call, but I still Day of the Dead, honestly.
Day of the Dead, right?
I know Romero sometimes like calls people who I remember there's a quote of him. He's like, people who like that movie are like the cave trolls. But yeah, I got to go with it.
Yeah,
and Day of the Dead, the one in a mall.
No, that's Dawn of the Dead.
Okay,
Day of the Dead's the third one.
When
they're in that bunker,
and there was
the guys
10
trying
years
to
between
the zombie.
Yeah, there was 10 years between the first two, which is interesting. But what, Pope, did you have a favorite?
Well, it's interesting. I love a lot of the zombie movies, but I got interested in the genre through video games.
Yeah.
I believe the first one I really played seriously was Dead Island.
Right. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. Those, because zombie games are good usually,
and it's basically a zombie movie that you're trying to just craft your way through and trying to survive.
Yeah.
Some of the later Dead Rising games get a little ridiculous, and that's what it's meant to be. I mean, one of your traps is an M60 tied to a teddy bear.
Right. I guess if I was forced to choose I would go for. I'm torn. There's two I'm torn between. One would be Dawn of the Dead, the second Romero, and the other one would be this movie. And I can't make up my mind. But I guess Dawn of the Dead because I've seen it more often and for longer.
I mean, I loved World War Z for what it was, even though it was very different from the book.
Hey Fletcher, good to see you, buddy. I know we're going to do some Korean stuff at some point, and we'll get you.
And the book by Max Brooks, and yes, he is the son of Mel Brooks.
Yes.
I would recommend you read outside of any of this or any kind of zombie genre or whatever. It's a good read.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah. So Max Brooks.
Yeah, Max Brooks is World War Z.
So the
It's
book.
done like a journal.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a series of post-war interviews
Got it.
that were done with
Seen the movie,
people who
obviously.
survived.
Yeah. I do like that movie too. I mean, it's in my top 10
The movie is very different from the book, but I love it.
it's in my top 10 of zombie movies, I should say.
It introduced the fast zombie into, Western zombie movies.
Yeah.
And
There's no reason zombies should be slow.
well, you're not wrong, but if they're fast, we're basically all dead.
Well, that's what we were saying at the beginning of this, though. Fast zombies plus infected animals and possibly insects, birds, whatever, we are completely screwed.
Yeah.
What about
Well, especially
microbes?
at that
Can you
point,
get zombie microbes?
Well, especially at that point, you enter the point where, at least in The Walking Dead, you can still hunt game and stuff like that to feed yourselves.
Yeah, here it's tough. Yeah,
Well, if the game are zombified,
that's right. What are you going to do? So Donnelly's gone, saved himself. Yeah, but he has that great scene where he shoves all the zombies back, and then he's
one of the best
Scoops that one
outros
up.
and
That's right,
death
yeah.
scenes for a
He scoops
hero,
one up.
for an actual hero I've seen in cinema in a long time. Of I know I'm going out, but I'm going to
Yes.
hold off as long as I fucking can.
As John says, he picks one of the zombies up and throws all the others back.
Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna.
Just the moments
See-
between him and his wife, the vision, and then this is where the emotion starts coming into the film. They bring in this emotion. It's great.
The one that made me kind of choke up was when he started yelling his daughter or son's name, I can't remember which, back to his wife.
The name, yeah, this is the name I want. This is the name, yeah.
Because I mean, I've never been blessed enough to, be in that situation, but that's a constant argument between couples who are expecting on the name. And that's one of those, it's like, at that point, he knows he's gone.
Yeah, he does, and the emotion is great in this. And as Fletcher said, they develop the characters really quickly in this movie. You really start to feel for them very quickly. Very emotional. And again, between him and Gong Yu, he says, "Look after my wife,"
Yeah. And then he yells at his wife of, "Hey, I forget the name, but this is the name."
Yeah, I can't remember either. But so now we're down to this ragtag bunch. Train can't go any further. Tunnel stuck. I liked it. Because now they're actually off the train now, which is great. It wasn't all on the train. There was some off the train. Again, this looks like your average British Rail train station on a normal day. Cars on fire, helicopters. No. Actually, the posters are all very misleading. Like the one that's in the background here shows them all running through the railway station. Well, Don Lee's dead by now, so he shouldn't be on this poster. And there's no helicopters. It's like dead people and these people. That's it. But they have to get off, yeah. And then all sorts of shit. I do love these scenes with the burning train. The burning train is a good one. But I guess they're down to about. Here we go. This was like, oh shit! I didn't expect this one. Here it comes.
I had to look up when some of the Walking Dead comics came out because I was like, were these inspirations for this? Because Walking Dead has done a lot of this, but it was kind of parallel to.
I don't know. I thought those comics started before this. I can't be sure. I've never read the comics.
But at the same time, a lot of the things that they had actually done in The Walking Dead were done right alongside with this. So it wasn't a case of.
Well, the television
copying.
show.
It was a case of just kind of simultaneous inspiration.
I think the television show started 10, 12 or more years ago, didn't it?
Yeah, and that was about the time that The Walking Dead started getting adapted into a TV show.
That's what I mean. The show started at least that long ago, so the comics must have been earlier.
12 or 13 years ago.
Back into the late 90s, I think.
So it predates this. I mean, Walking Dead predates this by quite a bit, I think.
But I don't know how much distribution it had in the Korean market.
Oh, I have no idea. I know Fletcher might know. He knows a lot about the
I mean,
Korean
these
stuff.
ideas were floating out there in the late 90s, early 2000s. But as a graphic novel that no one really gave a shit about until the mid 2000s when AMC picked up Walking Dead.
Nightmare City. I've heard of that movie, but I've actually never seen it. And I know who Umberto Lenzi is, but I'm remiss. It's remiss of me not to have seen that one. I'll put it on the list.
But it was funny that the zombie genre popped up in like the late 70s. Was really popular for like 5 or 6 years, and then died until the late 90s, early 2000s.
Well, it's like anything else. It's fads and waves, and things come back and go away. See, they overdid it. They overdo it. You'll get one zombie movie, you'll get 50, and then 50 crappy CW TV shows. I'm just writing that down.
They come up with the zombie rom-coms.
I know.
Oh, dude, iZombie was just like the most cringy thing I've ever fucking seen.
Now, this is where they're trapped under the train car, and the train car is absolutely chock full of zombies. And I think I even have a clip for that. It's probably this. I mean, what would we all do? Now, this is great because this is when this guy is on the run, and to try and get the train, there's a train conductor on an engine trying to get the hell out of here. Everyone's got to get to that train, and the CEO guy is on his way there, and he's a twat. There's no two ways of putting it. This with them all crashing through, and again, a great scene, well staged. I mean, there's some risk of actors hurting themselves in that kind of scene, I would imagine. So it had to be extremely well filmed. Yeah, everyone's the hero, and Gong Yu, of course, we're showing the man that he is here. He's become taking the obstacle out of the way with just sheer adrenaline strength, and trying to save his daughter and this woman who he's barely known. But I love this with the way it's filmed from above and back. They're running towards, and then all these zombies start coming out. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and you get to see clearly how the zombies can drag down something like a locomotive. Is that one of them hanging off of it can't, but when they all lock onto each other and start trying to climb up and get on,
they form a chain.
They have a couple of ton drain.
Yeah, and add one last little. again, marvelous work for an extra. That would be such fun.
And one of the things that I love about this sequence too is that his daughter is actually the one who kills him.
Oh, we got hit.
Did we?
Oh, bollocks. Well, we're all Captain Rumble, so keep talking, Pope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to it in a minute, but his daughter screaming for him is literally the thing that kills him. Because he had the CEO there handled and had him almost over the railing.
Indeed.
And then she screams for him, and that draws him to her.
Yeah, yeah.
And
it is. It's that.
then he has to basically put his hand in the guy's mouth to keep him from biting his daughter.
Yeah, that's right. He goes round the back and puts the hand in. Yeah, I remember it.
And that's where his fate is sealed.
He sacrifices himself. Yes.
Which there can be no nobler sacrifice, true, but if she had just kept her mouth shut and watched the battle, he might still be around.
These damn little girls are not being able to handle a zombie apocalypse. It's ridiculous.
No, you know.
I would have threw him off the train before when he's sitting there talking.
Yeah.
Because he owed him.
That's what I was thinking in the back of my head the entire time that conversation is. It's like, dude, chuck this motherfucker over the side.
Yeah, that last sequence is the one that doesn't ring quite true, because in that position you would have grabbed that marker and thrown him right off the side instead of talking to him.
It's like, don't give a shit what reasons he has. Don't care what his motivations are or how sorry he is. This man has killed hundreds of people at this point, and maybe, according to what we know at the beginning of the movie,
okay, we're back up.
One of the people who are in charge of this entire outbreak. So chuck that dude over the railing and see what he gets.
Maybe he's the CEO of the biotech company that caused all this. We don't know.
Yeah.
Do we? We're back up. Thanks for hanging around, everybody. Apologies for that. It was just a little bit too much video there. It's tough to talk about things without showing them, though. But thanks for sticking with us. So we're reaching the climactic piece where they get on board the engine, and who's driving the engine but Mr. CEO? Who left the conductor for dead after the conductor saved him.
Mm-hmm.
And we're thinking,
where you know karma was going to bite him.
That's right.
Literally.
We're thinking, you know what? These guys might make it now. Well, maybe not.
That whole zombie carpet, which is cool.
Oh, God, yeah. This stuff's just brilliantly
Dude, the set
fun.
pieces and stuff like this are absolutely gorgeous throughout this entire movie.
Yeah, thrilling, gorgeous, beautifully filmed. The action, because the action director is so
and
good.
Appropriate to the movie, because, like, you know, you'll see, like, the normal train tracks or whatever, and then everything's on fire.
Yeah.
Or everything's ruined outside of the one track they're on.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying over on Rumble, though, that when we were still going, we were talking for the YouTube chat here. Why didn't he just throw this guy over the side now? That would have thrown him over the side. He's infected.
You should have.
But this is where they try to invent some sympathy for him with, you know, I want to go home to my mummy and whatever.
There's usually where the hero stumbles. Because the villain has a very good reason for what he's doing.
Yeah. He just wants to get home to his mother.
Mm-hmm. So he becomes not a inhuman monster at a point now. He is a sympathetic character.
Well, a little boy again.
That sympathy is what kills him.
That's right. He's a little boy. He becomes a little boy.
Mm-hmm. Yet that sympathy is what kills the hero.
He's fighting him, as you said, Pope. His daughter starts screaming. He turns, the bad guy here turns towards the daughter, and to save her, he sticks his arm round and puts his hand in his mouth.
He has to basically tackle him and put his arm around the guy's face.
Sacrificing himself. By
Actually, I believe
lightning.
in the scene, he puts his hand over his mouth.
Well, no, he puts it deliberately in the mouth so the guy's got something to chomp on.
If you look at one shot, it's over his mouth, and then it somehow slips to his hand is here.
But because he's got something to suck on,
it bites down.
He's not interested in the girls anymore.
Well, I mean, I'll put it this way: like, it kind of flipped from a or from a mask to being in his mouth, so it bites down.
Yeah, but that's
and I'll say because at this point it's no longer human.
Because at that point, the zombie is not going to go after the others. He's got something to bite on, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he saved both that pregnant woman and his own daughter. Yeah. But he's also condemned himself.
Yeah. Fun fact: I've driven an engine like that.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know the exact variant of that one, but they're all pretty similar. Not on the public main network line, by the way. Just.
But you got to live every little boy's dream and actually got to drive a train engine.
I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So now he's got to tell the daughter, I'm screwed. I'm done. You got to stay with this woman here. You've got to survive.
And that's what I loved about this end scene is they make it about him trying to basically make up to his daughter for all the times he wasn't there.
Yeah. Well, they finally bonded when he's dying.
Yeah.
They finally bonded.
And in the middle there too, Don Lee says something about, "Hey, dads are never around for the fun stuff, but but we get all the shit." That's
right. Yeah.
And he's not wrong.
This is where the casting of Gong Yu works, because he is good at this kind of emotional stuff more than the action stuff in his career.
And I love how he pulled it off as a guy who knows what he has to do.
Mm-hmm.
And especially after he's bit and his daughter is safe in the cab, he knows what he has to do.
Yeah, it's a man. He's being a man. Yeah.
And he doesn't want his daughter to see it.
No, he doesn't. He does it perfectly. Yeah. So they're finally reaching the tunnel into Busan. We don't know what's awaiting them here. We don't even know if there's anybody there. I mean, we've seen the carnage in the other cities. And they figured out how to use the brake, so that's good.
Well,
he told her.
She only figured it out because, one of his last things was like, okay, this is the brake.
There are more than one brakes on these things.
You need to pull that.
Yeah, there's more than one brake, but we won't go into that. And that's it. They're the only two survivors, we assume. We assume nobody else got out of the carnage of that train at any point.
And I love the end of that, too, where they're both so injured that they're both kind of shambling.
Mm.
And the guys who are actually in the KDF, Korean Defense Force,
think they're zombies,
are literally looking at it down a sight going, I'm not sure if this is zombie or not.
Well, that's right. The tension is there. It's incredible.
And then they hear the little girl's song that she practiced for her dad.
For her dad, yeah. The other thing is, though, they've got a lot of guts walking into that tunnel without knowing what's at the other end.
Well, at that point, they've got no other options.
Yeah. But yeah, kill them.
That's the thing is he has the sight right on him, and then that song starts echoing out of the tunnel.
Mm.
And they're like, that's not Zed.
But that's great that she sang the song. Great that she sang the song.
And then, they go, we got two survivors instead of two.
And I thought that it was great that the song that saved her was the song that she learned for her dad.
And now we have three survivors, really, because she's pregnancy, which may be important to the future of the human race. So there it was.
That's how you do a zombie movie fucking right.
Thrill ride, an absolute thrill ride, in my opinion. Absolutely loved it. The chat Just give us your feelings about the movie. You don't have to rate it unless it's not Toxic Tuesday. But tell us what you think, how it stands up for you. We'll go around everybody. Cece, your feelings about this movie.
I mean, I loved it. Obviously, I watched it right before the show, so it's like, oh hey, I got a message from you. He's like, hey, do you want to watch this movie? And I'm like, all right. So I found it and I watched it, and yeah, $8.5 million is less than I thought I was watching, but it's a testament to how much you don't have to spend tens of millions of dollars to make a good movie. They probably made good choices there. I agree with you. I love the cinematography. It probably wouldn't have been overzealous of them to clear out a train station for an hour, maybe on a holiday or something. A rail yard is generally an accessible location. Great makeup, great body work. I mean, just the way that people use their body language to communicate. The ending didn't ruin it for me. I think I got a little bit frustrated with how many people that CEO got killed. And maybe that means he was an effective character. On the other hand, it's like, wow, this is really depressing at the end. It's like everybody's dead. Would have been kind of nice to have a little bit of a glimmer there instead of I'm not saying it's unrealistic, but like having the command come through, like kill them in the tunnel. It's there was definitely part of me that wished that maybe the three of them could have been walking through that tunnel at the end.
I had the horrible feeling that they were going to get killed. I thought, oh god, they're going to go there. I thought they're going to go there.
I had that feeling going into the tunnel. I heard sound. I thought I heard like zombie sounds. Like, okay, at this point they've killed everybody. You might as well just finish the job.
It wasn't quite
where
as
I
nice.
thought it was going to go at the end, where the three of them were going to walk off the train together, but be so injured that they were all shambling, and they were just going to get picked off by the Busan Defense Force.
Yeah, and I'm glad they didn't go there. I thought, God, is it a nihilistic movie where everyone dies? But it wasn't quite that. So, John, what's your overall thoughts on this movie?
Well, it's probably one of the best zombie movies ever made. It's definitely the best fast zombie movie ever made. I echo what CC says. I mean, it's beautifully shot and done on a budget that's ridiculous today. If Hollywood tried to make this, it would be $50 million. And it wouldn't look near as good.
Yeah. At least.
For the zombie genre, I would say this is similar to if you guys are familiar with it, the mid-2000s Running Scared with Paul Walker, where it was a really low-budget movie, really heavy on impact and theatrics.
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, this is the
it wasn't a high-budget movie. And it really emotionally impacted you. And 15 years later, well, probably 20 years later now, it's still a great movie.
Yeah. So what about this movie, though, Pope? How would you sum up your final thoughts on this movie?
I think it does an excellent job at everything it sets out to do. Could some of the scenes have been spiced up or done over with CGI? Yeah. I don't think it would have added anything to the movie. Where I think they did exactly what they needed to do with it, which is basically tell the story of these people who are on a literal steel tube on a rail to possible salvation, and they don't even know at that.
Yeah.
And that all they know at the end is Busan is their only chance.
Gotta get there. Yeah.
And they all basically sacrificed their lives to try to get there. Which, you know what? That's in that situation, I would defy you to say that that's the wrong call.
I don't think it's the wrong call.
No.
You have to make the chance.
Yeah. A young child and a pregnant woman, the future of humanity. Even by then, they were getting it. On the train, some of them were getting
And I
it.
love the fact that those were the ones that survived.
Yeah. Thanks, Pope. So the chat, great, Christian, great movie, and the captions were slow enough so I could read them full. I finally figured out how to get captions on these slides, so I've done that today. Read them fully. Yes. Fletcher, I give it a good 9 out of 10. Great acting by all, good effects and a good pace. Absolutely. I do like Clay's ranking system. He gives it a B+ out of 10, which you can't say better than that. I mean, could it be a Z infinity out of Ouroboros? I don't know. Great ranking. No woke BS. Not a single woke thing in this movie that you could mention. Not one. Yeah, Fletcher, who, as I say, you know a lot about this stuff, Fletcher, and we're definitely going to have you on. I want to talk to you about Korean stuff at some point. Most Asian horror has a bit of an edge to it, not very rosy scenario most of the time, and that's reality, I think.
That's what old school horror used to be.
Yeah,
Most
no
people
rosy
in the
endings.
movie weren't going to make it.
No happy endings, as the actress said to the bishop. As for me, it's, as I say, it's one of my 2 favorite zombie movies of all time, with Dawn of the Dead being the other. And this one, I absolutely love it. I love the fact it's fast-paced. It's got action in it. The cinematography is great. The stunt work is amazing. And the acting, the physical acting by these extras is just phenomenal. The way they use their bodies instead of having tons of CGI, they use their bodies extremely effectively. And the stunt directing is by Young Do Hong is phenomenal. And he's got, look him up on IMDb, hundreds of great movies he's been involved with. So that was an icing on the cake getting that guy. I think it's a lot of fun, but it has an emotional heartbeat to it which grows as the film goes on. Very emotional scenes at the end. So absolutely adore it. I love it. I love Korean stuff, and it's a great exemplar of how good the Korean film industry can be. So that sums it up for me. Pope, we're going to wrap it up. What's coming up for you in the immediate future, sir?
Well, I believe we have the Beatles 1965 to go through with Scott on his channel whenever he decides to do that. And then we're going to be going through the rise of heavy metal on the history of rock and roll, which will be next Thursday on my channel, which is our Road to 1970. And then I will, since I've had such fun doing it, and a lot of people have really enjoyed me breaking it down, I will be going into the subgenres as well, like the history post 1970 of heavy metal, punk, folk rock, all of it. And we're going to be peeling back the layers and literally just giving it the old college try on actual research into how these things came about and who influenced what and all that. And generally listening to a lot of really great music doing it.
That's what it's all about.
That's really it at the end of the day, is listening to a lot of really cool stuff and realizing that this stuff that was kind of cool led to stuff that was even better later.
For sure. Well, look forward to that, mate. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate it a lot.
Man. Thank you for introducing me to this.
Oh, no problem. There's lots more. So, CC Karaoke, thank you, sir, for joining the show. I always enjoy streaming with my Canadian pal. What are you up to in the next few days?
Well, thanks for the invitation. My general plans are always Friday nights after the late show with Mexican Iron Man. I do karaoke with some friends. So that's 10 p.m. Pacific time. And if there's no late show, which sometimes there's no late show, and yeah, we start a bit earlier, 9 p.m. So it's a little bit variable, but either way, it's late on Friday nights. And other than that, you can find me, well, anywhere else around the community on other channels, Midnight's Edge, Culture Casino here, for example. And I usually try to keep track of it all on the landing page of my channel. I've got a CC Live playlist. I try to keep everything on when I can. So, yeah,
Cool. No,
pretty much
thanks
I
for
gotta
being
have
here,
you on
mate.
one of these days, man, because I feel
Yeah.
like we'll have a lot of fun riffing on heavy metal.
Well,
Oh, for sure,
great,
yeah.
CC's a great metal singer.
Let's get that going.
So
I was on a metal karaoke stream yesterday. Sometimes I'm like a little bit hesitant on how I should scream into a microphone on like a live stream karaoke as opposed
especially
to a
in
bar.
an RV park. when
Yeah,
people
how
might-
that's gonna sound out, but
Yeah, well,
I'd
You're
thanks
just
for
gonna
being
go as high as you can and lean back a little bit.
yeah.
It's good
It's
to see
easier
you,
than
mate.
when you're in an apartment. That's for sure.
Well, for sure.
Yeah, John Daswolfen, my friend, what
Well.
can we see you on soon?
Well, I am not a great metal singer, but you can see me the next time I'll be on is Wednesday on Pop Culture Minefield for UFO Wednesday. We're continuing our coverage of Skinwalker Ranch. And that evening, I'll be on JoesAtmosfere channel for State of the Atmosphere, covering what's going on during the week.
Cool. No, and I'll be seeing you on Thursday morning.
Yep.
For Morning Coffee with Brian on Pop Culture Minefield, where this week we're doing British bands that never made it in America. So expect lots of Slade, Status Quo, The Move. We might
And
even do Zero.
can I just be around for that one? I don't have anything to input, but I want to learn.
Yeah, and well, yeah, absolutely. The Jam, Oasis were not that big. Another one is the venerable Queen Mother of rock and roll, Cliff Richard, who never made it big in America, but is an institution in Britain. Not
Well.
necessarily a good institution, but an institution.
I have some of those in my playlist, so I do know some of them.
Cool. Well, that's going to be a lot of fun because it's bands. Some of those bands are bands I love to talk about. Before I summarize what I'm up to, I would like to thank everyone over in Rumble who's been listening. I know that there has been people there. We have made the entertainment top of the entertainment tab. Thanks for being here, and follow me on Rumble if you're over there. I'm trying to get up to 100 on Rumble. I think I'm at 93 right now. Over here on YouTube, thank you very much to everyone for being in the chat for this. What was a slight departure. I know we've done movies. I haven't done a Korean movie before, so appreciate you sticking with it. Lots and thanks to Lord Thoth for modding, and Darius, our great friend Darius, for modding as well. Everyone, I don't want to name everybody because I know I'll miss somebody. Thank you all for being in the chat, giving us your opinions and taking part in the show. I will be on 32 Flavors of Nick Visor's channel tomorrow night to do Toxic Tuesday. It's Death Wish 2, which we're well familiar with, at least from our recent Death Wish canon thing that we did. Maybe on Midnight's Edge After Dark before that. Thursday morning on Pop Culture Minefield, as I say, John and I will be doing British bands that didn't make it in America. Also, there'll be stuff going on Thursday night that's been mentioned. Saturday night, Bourbon and Boarding. Pope and Brahma and I will be on. Only one of us appears to have a team in the second round.
You know, me and Brahma,
And it's
I need to be there as Brahma's comfort animal at this point.
If
and
you
he
were
needs
to
to be
ask,
there for me.
if you were to have asked me 3 or 4 days ago, I would have said I was the one that wouldn't have a team, and you two would. Well, the Stars made it, and the Bruins and the Avs didn't. There goes everyone's brackets.
Yeah, dude, that throws every bracket in
That was
anybody
my
who's serious about the
final
NHL
bracket.
out the window.
I had the Bruins winning it, or the
And the Leafs. somehow and are in the
Leafs-
second round for the first time in 20 years.
I know Leafs made it to the second round, and I'm no doubt they're feeling pretty good about it now that Boston are out. But I think Florida will give the Leafs a hard game. So, and I'm feeling good about the Stars now because we've got home ice advantage against Seattle.
Well, like I said about the Maple Leafs, they were either going to face the Bruins, the best team in the NHL, or they're going to face the team that just beat the best team, in the NHL.
Right.
Either way, you're screwed.
So anyway, bourbon and board. I hope you'll still join me, Pope. Bourbon and boarding
Absolutely.
Saturday night, 10 p.m. on my YouTube and Brahma's Rumble. And
My poor Blues didn't even get a chance to even sniff the Lord Stanley's Cup at this point.
indeed, they probably could have won if they'd made it to the playoffs.
Goddamn deserve.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
You did see the troll that John that the Stars social media did about the Blues, where they
I
said
missed that.
enjoy your summer, and it's a picture of a golf set with the Blues logo on it.
that is pretty good.
So that's Saturday night. I'm not sure what we're doing next Monday, but I've no doubt stuff will come out, and you'll see me around on various other shows too. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. And remember, fast zombies are best zombies. And if you are going to get on a train, make sure you're on a carriage that can be locked quickly.
Life lessons.
Lessons.
Or you can cut the ones behind you off
That's
and disconnect them.
Yeah, and take a flamethrower.
Yeah.
So good night, everyone. Take care.